You know, I love doing talks on Zoom because I can see you all. I always imagine, everybody remember Romper Room, right? And Miss Nancy and how she'd hold up like the little thing and she. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to welcome everyone. I'm going to welcome Amanda and Barry and Deborah and Bobby, Diane and Steve, Billy, Heather, Marty, Erica, Janet, Karen, Chris, Patricia, June, Jesse, Sean, Farah, Dave, Gail, Sylvain, and George. See, you all got your names finally said. Finally said. So grateful that you're with us today. Your energy, your presence, it's all poured into this alchemy of the community that we call CSL Davis. Yes, so beautiful, so beautiful. So today's subject is love. You know, February, good month to talk about love. And, you know, the Greeks had a lot of words for love, right? You give a lot of words to things you value, and they valued love, right? There's the love between two lovers, they called eros love. There's the love between friends that they called philia love that we have between friendship. And then they had a word for this universal, expansive love that's in all things, in all places, the agape love, agape. And we're going to talk about that and the power of it today. When I was finishing this talk, before I had it completed, I decided to take a walk in the park across the street from where I live. And all the trees had been barren, but when I walked out this morning, the cherry blossoms were blooming. Everyone noticed the cherry blossoms are like everywhere? Yeah, I know, sorry for the allergies, but they're beautiful, right? They're beautiful. And I had no idea this park even had cherry blossom trees because when I moved, everything was barren. So there I am walking underneath the beautiful pink blossoms, and I'm taking in this fragrance, this feeling of lightness and beauty and grace. And then I'm hearing the birds sing, and the birds just sounded so sweet. There was like this symphony of birds singing in the park, and then the sun was just coming up, and I saw the light, beautiful golden rays, orange rays reflecting on the clouds, and I thought, this is the most amazing morning ever. And then I realized that I had been walking through that park with my eyes of love glasses on because I had just been working on this talk, and it made everything so much more beautiful and expansive. See, when we bring love to each moment, we start to feel the essence of this agape love in all things. And by the way, a cherry blossom has 5 petals. I didn't know. I was so in love with this tree, I had to go look and see what it was that was in there. And as I was walking, I began to reflect on this subject in this talk and some of the study that I had done to put it together. One of which was I watched a video by MD was being interviewed. His name is Dean Schrock, a medical doctor. And he was being interviewed because he wrote a book called Why Love Heals. And as I was watching and listening to this doctor speak, it struck me that all things that we talk about, philosophy, religion, science, that all these streams of knowing seem to all come back to love. You know, as he was talking in this video, he said, you know, I'm a man of science and I'm a doctor. And he had done this study on cancer and the impact of visualization and meditation. And he had 3 control groups, you know, one group, they didn't do anything. Another group had the regular treatment, and his group also took his class. And what the numbers showed, right, because numbers gotta measure, showed his class was doing really well, that the patients were doing so well. And so he decided to ask some of the students and get some qualitative data. What was it about the class that was resonating with them? What visualization, meditation, right? He's thinking, oh, there's something in there that's really making the impact. And what he got from his students was, you know, I could tell you really cared. You know, I really felt supported. I really felt seen. All the things that weren't on his list. And when he looked at those things, what he realized was it was love that was healing his students and what he was working with, right? Shocking, I know, not to us, because we know the secret's out in our world, yes? So who's got some questions they want answered? Some questions they want answered, some things you want shifted or healed? Anybody? Got a few people in the room? Yeah, name it to claim it, right? So the title of today's talk is Love is the Answer. But what's the question? You ever hear love is the answer and it kind of feels true, but then you wonder, does it work on everything? Like, which questions does it answer? So we're going to ask a few of those questions a little later on in today's talk. But let's start out with, what is love? What is love? It's been called the most powerful force in the universe. It's been called another name for God. You know, David Bohm, a theoretical physicist and someone who studied quantum mechanics, described love as the harmonizing and unifying power back of all things. See, another stream coming back to love. You know, some social scientists asked some 4 to 8-year-olds, what is love? And I thought I'd share with you some of their answers because they're brilliant. They're brilliant. So one child said, when someone loves you, the way they say your name the way they say your name is different. You just know your name is safe in their mouth. That's Billy, age 4. Love is what's in the room with you at Christmas if you just stop opening presents and listen. That's Bobby, age 7. If you want to learn to love better, you should start with a friend who you hate. That's Nika, age 6. Here's another one. Love is like a little old woman and a little old man who are still friends even after they know each other so well. That's Tommy, age 6. Another one here. You really shouldn't say I love you unless you mean it. But if you mean it, you should say it a lot. People forget. Jessica, age 8. And the winner was a little 4-year-old boy. His next door neighbor, an elderly gentleman, had just lost his wife. Upon seeing the man cry, the little boy went into the gentleman's yard, climbed up on his lap, and sat there. When his mother asked him what he said to the neighbor, the little boy said, nothing. I just helped him cry. Such beautiful wisdom of children, yes? That wisdom we all came into the world with. And I feel like we're all trying to get back there. Anybody? Yeah, absolutely. You know, Ernest Holmes has a lot to say about love. He says that love is within us. It cannot be destroyed. It can be ignored. And to the extent that we abandon love, we feel love has abandoned us. Denying love is the only problem, and embracing it is the only answer. Through love, the power of love, we can let go of the past history and begin again. Love heals, forgives, and makes whole. Blessed be, yes? Our only problem, you only got one problem. Isn't that great? That's good news. Just denying love. Let's let it in, yes? You know, Charles Fillmore, the founder of Unity, when he talked about love, he talked about it in a metaphor. He said that the physical representation of love is the heart, the office of which is to equalize the circulation of blood in the body. As the heart equalizes life flow in the body, so love harmonizes the thought of mind, the thought of mind. And what do we call that harmonization of thought of mind? It's peace. See, any answer that's not bringing us peace may not be the answer that we're really seeking. So what about those questions? Love's the answer. What's the question? Well, let's ask a few. Let's try on the lens of love and what it might say in response to some questions. Often I've had people come to me and ask me about their children who are addicted, and they ask, how do I help my adult child that's struggling with addiction? All right. Well, maybe love showing up to answer this might look like saying no to their financial requests so that they can finally find their healing path. And the strength of love to hold up that no and to remember that their healing path is before them. Love can do that when we come from that space of love. Another question is, how do I help someone who is grieving, right? Now, grief is tricky. It can trigger stuff within us when someone, a friend or a family member loses someone. Sometimes we don't know what to say or how to be, and it kind of makes us feel sometimes like we want to pull back, right? Because we just don't know. But if we brought love to it, like that little 4-year-old boy who knew just our presence when someone is hurting is enough. Just being love in our energy and showing up for those that are grieving makes a difference. Anybody got any difficult people in their lives? You want some answers to your difficult people? Anybody? Yeah, I know. The neighbor, maybe the coworker, the spouse, whatever it is. Yeah. What if we lean in to the difficult people in our lives with love, with understanding? You know who did this? I'm a big fan of Joel Osteen. Got any Joel Osteen people in here? Listen to his podcast. They're beautiful. They're all metaphysical, really. And he's telling a story when he was in line at the grocery store, and he was noticing that the checker was being really short and kind of rude with some of the customers. And then the customers were being rude and short back at her. And there was this whole like negative energy, and he's coming up in line. He's coming up for his turn. And he decided to lean in to this checker a little bit and said, "Tough day, huh?" In a really soft and caring voice. And she said, "Yeah." She said, "My baby's in the ICU right now, and my husband just lost his job." And then he said, "Let's pray. We want to pray about it." So they prayed right there at the checking stand. And then when he left, the lady behind him ran up and gave her a hug. And someone else in line, his wife, worked at the hospital, and he called her and had her check on her baby. See, this alchemization of love completely shifted the situation and began to heal it. That's what love can do for us when we lean in sometimes to these areas that are really just a call for love. It can change not only the situation, but it can change us. And there's a lovely story I'd love to share with you that exemplifies this. Some of you may have heard it before, but I'm going to invite you to listen with a beginner's ear and an open heart, because you're different. You might catch something new from this story. It's called Teddy and Mrs. Thompson. See, Jean Thompson stood in front of her 5th grade class on the very first day. Like most teachers, she looked at her pupils and said to them that she loved them all and would treat them alike. But she lied. And there, it was impossible for her to love them all because, well, there was little Teddy Stoddard in the 3rd row, slumped over. Mrs. Thompson had watched Teddy the year before and noticed he didn't play well with other children. His clothes were unkept, and he was in constant need of a bath. And Teddy was unpleasant. It got to the point in the first few months that she took delight in taking her red pen and putting an X on the wrong answers and a big F at the top. Because Teddy was a sullen boy, no one else seemed to enjoy him either. At school where Mrs. Thompson taught, she was required to read every child's record. She put Teddy's off for last. But when she opened it, she was in for a surprise. Her 1st grade teacher wrote, "Teddy is bright, inquisitive child with a ready laugh. He does his work neatly and has good manners. He's a joy to be around." His 2nd grade teacher wrote, "Teddy is an excellent student, well liked by his classmates, but he is troubled. because his mother has a terminal illness and life at home must be a struggle. His third grade teacher wrote, Teddy continues to work hard, but since his mother's death, it's been hard on him, and his father doesn't show much interest in their home life. If something doesn't happen, it will soon affect him. His fourth grade teacher wrote, Teddy is withdrawn, doesn't show much interest in school. He doesn't have many friends, and sometimes he sleeps in class. He is tardy a lot, and it has become a problem. By now, Mrs. Thompson realized the problem, but she was so busy with Christmas and she had the school play to do that she couldn't really focus on Teddy. One day, the students had brought all their presents wrapped in beautiful ribbons and bright paper. Except for Teddy's present, it was clumsily wrapped in a heavy brown paper of a grocery bag. Mrs. Thompson took pains to open it in the middle of the other presents. Some of the children began to laugh when she found a rhinestone bracelet with some stones missing and a bottle of cologne that was only a quarter full. She stifled the children's laughter when she put on the bracelet and proclaimed how beautiful it looked, and she dabbed a little of the cologne on her. Teddy Stoddard stayed behind that day just long enough to tell Mrs. Thompson, today you smell just like my mom used to. After the children left, Mrs. Thompson cried for an hour. On that very day, she quit teaching reading and writing and speaking, and instead she began to teach children. Jean Thompson paid particular attention to the one called Teddy. As she worked with him, his mind seemed to come alive. The more she encouraged him, the faster he responded. And well, he had also become her pet. She didn't exactly love all the kids the same. A year later, after Teddy had left elementary school, she got a note from Teddy that said that she was his favorite teacher of elementary school. 6 years later went by and she got another note saying that he had graduated high school and was third in his class. And of course, she was still his favorite teacher of all time. Then 4 more years went by and she got another letter telling her that, he'd had some hard times in school, but he stuck with it and he graduated from college with the highest honors. And yet assured Mrs. Thompson, still favorite teacher of all time. Then 4 more years passed. She got a letter explaining that his name had gotten a little longer. He was now Theodore F. Stoddard, MD. But the story doesn't end there. You see, that spring, Teddy had found love and he was going to get married. He sent a letter explaining to Mrs. Thompson that his dad had died a few years ago and asked Mrs. Thompson if she might agree to sit in the pew reserved for the mother of the groom. And on that special day, Jean Thompson wore the bracelet, the one with the rhinestones missing. And on that special day, Mrs. Thompson smelled just like Teddy's mom used to smell. After the wedding, they hugged each other, and Dr. Stoddard whispered in Mrs. Thompson's ear, "Thank you, Mrs. Thompson, for believing in me. Thank you for making me feel important and showing me I could make a difference." Mrs. Thompson, with tears in her eyes, whispered back, she said, "Teddy, you have it all wrong. You were the one that taught me I could make a difference. I didn't know how to teach until I met you." That's what love can do. Yes, blessed be, blessed be. So I began to think about the question part again of love. And I thought, what's some of the biggest questions that we have, and how could love help answer it? And the one I got to was, many times we think, am I getting life right? Did I get life right? Like when we get to the end, we're going to ask, did I waste the gift? Did I hit the mark? And I began to think about my own life. I never had kids and I always wanted kids. I've never been married. I started to think about all these things. And so then I thought, well, what would be my vision of someone who I think has hit the mark in life, right? They have a beautiful home, they have a big family, maybe they're married, maybe they have a great reputation, lots of friends, right? And then I thought, but what if they kept the lid on their heart? What if they kept the lid on their heart? They did all those things. They just don't seem to matter if you kept the lid on your heart about something, right? Because we're here to give and receive love. And if we don't do that, I think we missed it, right? We come here for each other. And so I want to ask you right now, have you kept the lid on your heart with someone? Let's check in. Let's take a deep breath and let it out. And just go within, drop within. And if it's comfortable to do so, close your eyes and go to that still small space. And ask yourself, is there anyone I've kept out of my heart? Maybe it's a family member that you had a disagreement with. Is the lid on? Are you leaning into them? Maybe it's someone at work. Maybe you just do the minimum and get out. You're not really pouring your love into that environment. Perhaps it's your partner. Maybe you've been withholding love because you think they haven't done enough or they're not being enough in the relationship. You don't feel like they understand you, so you're withholding your love. Maybe it's a friend that seems to drifted away. You just had one little difference at a time, and now you don't talk to them anymore and haven't reached out, but you love them. Or maybe it's yourself. Maybe you're beating yourself up, judging yourself, shaming or blaming. Could you bring love to yourself? Acceptance, grace. Or maybe it's your higher power or spirit that you've kept the lid on. Not expressing your gratitude for the grace, for this life, for all that you've been given. I want you to think about one thing you could do, even a small thing, to take the lid off of your love and pour it forth. And as you come back into the room now, eyes open, fully back, in this time, in this space, I want to take the lid off of my heart right now. With CSL Davis, I want to pour into you all of my gratitude and love and thanks for being able to speak and serve you for over 2 years now, and to receive your love and your smiles and your encouragement. Thank you so much. I love you. Let's take this message into prayer. Just knowing that there is only one power, one wisdom. We can call this wisdom, this power, this presence, love. And it's the energy of love that's living and breathing each and every person here today. You are an emanation of this energy that was never born and never dies. And it goes out before each and every person present here today, expanding your experience. In all its forms, as peace, as harmony, as grace, as forgiveness, as empowerment, as wisdom. And so I simply rejoice. I give thanks for this energy of love that is magnified today in each and every heart. I give thanks for the lids that are coming off and the love that is pouring forward, knowing it is healing the planet. And I invite you now too to send our love, the energy of love, to the Ukraine. See it spreading out over the land, to every heart. And so I give thanks for the powerful, creative, healing beings that we are. And I rest in this word. I know it is complete, for love is always whole. Love is always complete. I let it be, I let it go, and together we say,